What's up everyone, it's Bones here. In today's video, I'll be covering the new Kashtira cards that we'll be getting in Photon Hypernova, but before I begin, if you could happen to click on those thumbs up and subscribe buttons, it would be greatly appreciated as it goes a long way in supporting the channel and shows me that you like content like this. Clicking on those notification bells would also be really helpful, as it notifies you when I upload on the channel. So the way I'll be structuring this video is I'll be showing various one-card combos, along with covering a couple of Kashtira tier combos, because I want to get both decks into this video as they'll be the ones making the most use of these new cards. But with all of that out of the way, let's get started. So this first combo is just going to take Unicorn, and this can be either Unicorn or the field spell, and the same is said for basically all of these combos except the final one, which is the Kashtira tier one, which we're going to get the first new card here, Kashtira PHHY, and you can target one monster you control, special summon one Kashtira monster with a different attribute from your deck in defense position. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn, except Exceed monsters. If this card becomes banished, you can target one of your banished Kashtira cards except PHHY, added to your hand. You can only use each effect of PHHY once per turn. So we're going to make good use of this here, as we're going to target the Unicorn, special summoning out our Fenrir, and now Fenrir can net us a search for the second new card that we'll be getting here, Kashtira Rise Heart, and this is basically the Rhino Heart and Riem Heart equivalent for this archetype, as it's another Visos Starfrost lore deck, and it reads, if you control a Kashtira monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn, except Exceed monsters. So you see that's a stipulation put into two cards now, that you can't summon from the extra deck except Exceed monsters after using both of these cards, which is important to note because, as said earlier, this video will also be covering the tier version of this deck. And during your main phase, if this card was normal or special summoned, this turn you can banish one Kashtira card from your deck except Rise Heart, banish the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck face down, and if you do, this card's level becomes 7. You can only use each effect of Rise Heart once per turn. So now we're going to rank away into our Shang Tsung here, and then from here we're going to activate the Rise Heart in our hand, special summoning it. Then we can use its effect, banishing the Big Bang, which is yet another new card we'll be getting, and this is the combo piece that really enables a lot of crazy stuff in this deck in my opinion, especially the pure version, as it reads, if a Kashtira Exceed monster is on the field, make both players banish monsters from their field face down so they only control one. If this card becomes banished, you can target one Kashtira Exceed monster you control, add one Kashtira monster you own attached to it to your hand, then you can special summon it from your hand. You can only use each effect of Big Bang once per turn. So because we banished it, we're now going to be able to banish our opponent's cards from the deck face down, the top 3, and then we can also lock a zone on their side of the field, or really any side of the field, but you really want to use it on their side of the field. And we're going to get the Big Bang to get a level 7 off of the Shang Tsung here, as we're going to get the Fenrir, and then we can special summon it. And then from here we're going to use the Rise Heart to go into the Rise Heart, which is the penultimate new Kashtira card that we'll be getting, I believe, and it takes 3 level 7 monsters once per turn. If Shang Tsung activated its effects this turn, you can also Exceed summon a Rise Heart by using a Kashtira monster you control. Transfer its materials to this card. Any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead, so basically Macrocosmos. And once per chain, each time a card is banished, attach one banished card to this card as material. Once per turn, quick effect, you can detach 3 materials from this card, then target one card on the field, banish it face down. So a lot to unpack there because there's a lot of effects, and how it synergizes with the Shang Tsung over here, as you can detach 3 to trigger this. But in a lot of your combos, you're really going into Shang Tsung because you want to banish stuff, and a Rise Heart just being a Macrocosmos in itself allows attaching banished cards to it really easy. And you have to keep in mind that it says banished cards, so it doesn't matter if they're face down banished. And this will wrap it up for the first combo, as This one is just based on getting you the Macrocosmos along with the Fenrir and the special summon of a Kashtira monster on the standby phase off of Shang Tsung. Now for the second combo here, and this will be the zone locking combo that Kashtira is well known for, and this is a field spell that reads, when this card is activated, you can add one Kashtira monster from your deck to your hand. Monsters you control gain 100 attack and defense for each attribute among the monsters on the field. If Kashtira Shang Tsung you control activates its effect, except during the damage step, you can target one card on the field, destroy it. You can only use this effect of Plan Planet Paraísos once per turn, and you can only activate one copy of this field spell per turn. So as stated in the first combo, this can be Unicorn too, as this is just going to search you it for this combo. And we're going to get the Unicorn, special summon it, use its effect, like the last one. This will get us the Papayas. And then from here we can use the Papayas, we can target the Unicorn, special summoning out the Fenrir. The Fenrir will then net us a search here, as we're going to get ourselves the Arise Heart, or the Rise Heart, and then we're going to go into our Shang Tsung, special summon the Rise Heart by using its effect. Then we can use its effect on the field to banish the Big Bang from our deck, as we're now going to get another level 7 and banish 3 from the top of our opponent's deck. And you're going to see that we're actually going to attack the spell and trap zones here, and it's because I want to also cover rogue matchups like Valance and stuff like that. How easy it is to log their zones can just make playing for them really hard, as you're going to see as we go into the Mind Hacker here. Use its effect, and then Chainlink 1, we're going to use the Mind Hacker. Chainlink 2, we're going to use Shang Tsung. And here you're going to see we're going to take out the second Pendulum Scale. If you want to do Monster Zones, you can of course do that as well. As we're now going to pass to our opponent. From here we're going to go to the standby phase. Then we're going to use the Shang Tsung to bring out a Fenrir from our deck. And you'll see the big difference between doing the one card combo as seen previously to this one is you're not making the Arise Heart in order to ensure you can get the zone locking here. And as soon as your opponent does anything, and you can really treat the Rise Heart as anything that you would want to respond with Fenrir. But we're going to resolve the Rise Heart here, as the Fenrir will trigger banishing the Rise Heart face down or whatever your opponent has, and then that will prompt your Mind Hacker, which will be Chainlink 1, then we'll Chainlink 2 Shang Tsung, and then from here we're going to lock out our opponent's zones, as once the Mind Hacker banishes your opponent's cards from the top of their deck, you can then prompt the Shang Tsung to lock out their last zone. Now for this third combo, this will be another one using just Unicorn or the field spell. Terraforming and stuff like set rotation also works. And then from here we're going to special summon it. We can then use its effect. Much like our previous combos, we're going to add the Papayas, then we can activate it targeting the Unicorn, special summoning out the Fenrir. The Fenrir will then net us a search, as we're going to get the Rise Heart. And then from here we're going to go into our Shang Tsung, as we're going to special summon out the Rise Heart. We can then use the Rise Heart, banishing the Big Bang. Rise Heart will then banish 3 from our opponent's top deck, as the Shang Tsung will trigger here, and then we can also use the Big Bang Chainlink 2 in order to take out one of the Kashtira monsters attached to it, as we get Fenrir, special summon it from our hand, and then we'll be able to go into the Arsenal Falcon here, which is a cute option this deck has, as you're able to go into the Wind Statue to lock your opponent out of special summoning anything but wind monsters. Now keep in mind, in the mirror, they do have the Unicorn, which is also a wind monster. Now for the last one card combo of the pure build, I just want to use Fenrir because this may come up, so it's good to know what you can do with it, as we're going to special summon it. From here we can search out the Rise Heart, and the Rise Heart will basically ensure us rank 7 access, and I know that this isn't much of a combo, but it's still something that you should know. As you see, we go into our Arsenal Falcon, and this gets us the Wind Statue. And unless your opponent has a Kashtira Unicorn in their hand or something of the sorts, you should be fine. Now, for the final one card combo, and I want to keep in mind that there is an asterisk to this. You're not always going to mill crazy, as you're going to see I will. The point of this is to show the extent of the improvement that you get with one of the new cards that is also a Kashtira monster coming in this set. So I'm going to start here by activating the instant fusion. From here we can bring out our Kikalos, and now we'll use the Kikalos, which will net us a search. We're going to get the Merly, and the reason I'm doing this is because we're just going to mill as much as possible in order to complement the new card that we'll be getting. So Chainlink 1 will be using the Kit, Chainlink 2 will be using the Merly, as we're going to get a bunch of mills here, and you'll see that we actually hit multiple tier names. We hit the Modora, we hit a Keldo, and we hit the tier limits Kashtira, which is the card I wanted to talk about. And during the main phase quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if you do, banish one Kashtira or tier elements card from your hand or graveyard. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can send the top 3 cards of either player's deck to the graveyard. If this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard. So I know that there were jokes of Shizu tier being able to quote unquote mill half your deck, but this card makes it so that you can actually do that. Because as we just sent it to the graveyard off of the Kit Kalos, you can get 2 mills and get yourself more mills like that. But as you'll see, I'm going to trigger off the tier names here, and I'm just going to use 2 of them along with the Kashtira tier so that we can get our mills. And from here we're going to get those mills as we're going to fuse again for our Garura, and at this point we just have Rokalos, the Merly, the Garura here as we're going to link away into Sprite's Brand, and now we can block the Sprint with the Garura, which will allow us to draw one as we get the Kashtira tier elements, and then get a send off for the Merly, as the Merly will then be able to fuse away with the Garura into a Dragos Depelia for another disruption. If we had Rhino Heart in the graveyard, you could also go for Lido Heart. And then depending on what you want to do, and depending on the situation of the game, you can either bring out the tier elements Kashtira, or you can keep it in your hand. Now for the first of the 2 card combos, and this is a combo that I want to show, that's the zone locking that you can also end with a Rise Heart. And this basically just takes Unicorn, the field spell, terraforming, set rotation, any of those, along with one of the Kashtiras that you can special summon via banishing a Kashtira, this particular scenario, from your hand or graveyard. We're going to start here by special summoning the Unicorn, then we can use its effect, which will prompt us a search. We'll get ourselves the Papayas. We can then activate the Papayas, targeting the Unicorn, bringing out our Fenrir. The Fenrir will then net us a search here as we're going to get the Rise Heart. And we're going to follow the same stuff that we've been doing in the previous combos, as we're going to activate the Rise Heart from our hand. We can then use its effect, banishing the Big Bang. From here we can banish the cards from our opponent's deck to prompt the Shang. And then we're going to have the Big Bang as Chainlink 2, as we're going to bring the Fenrir back to our hand so that we can special summon it, lock an opponent's zone, go into the Arise Heart with Arise Heart as we use the Shang Tsung this turn. Then we're going to use the effect of the Kashtira Scareclaw or the tier elements one, it doesn't matter. But we just want to special summoning it, banishing the Papayas. We'll trigger our Arise Heart so that we can equip a card that's banished to it, and we're going to get our Big Bang back via the Papayas, as we're going to equip the Papayas or attach it, and then we're going to go into our Mind Hacker, and just like the second combo I showed, we're going to start banishing stuff from our opponent's extra deck and deck in order to trigger off the Rise Heart and the Shang Tsung. So we already have 2 zones locked here. We're going to be banishing more cards, get our Fenrir back, equipping it to a Rise Heart, as we're going to trigger the Arise Heart here, equip another card. We'll then get to lock another zone with the Shang Tsung, as we're going to set the Big Bang, pass to our opponent. Then from here we're going to use the Shang Tsung on the standby phase to get us out the Fenrir, and then we're going to go to the main phase 1. The minute your opponent does anything that you want to respond to or can respond to, we're going to do just that, as the Fenrir will now be able to banish the Scareclaw face down, as that will prompt our Mind Hacker along with the Shang Tsung, and this will basically ensure that we can lock their zones. This time we do go for the monster zones. And as soon as the Arise Heart equips the final card, we'll also be able to lock their zone with the Shang Tsung as Chainlink 2. For the 7th combo, we'll be starting with a similar setup as we have the Tearlaments one this time, and we're going to special summon the Unicorn, getting our Papayas. We can then target the Unicorn with Papayas to bring out our Fenrir. We can then use the Fenrir's effect, which will allow us to net us a search here, as we're going to get us the Rise Heart. We can then go into our Shang Tsung, special summon out the Rise Heart, activating its effect, as we're going to activate its effect now, finishing the Big Bang, and then we can banish the top cards from our opponent's deck, use the Shang Tsung to lock a zone, and then we're going to get the Big Bang as Chainlink 2, getting our Fenrir back, special summoning it, and then we can go into our Rise Heart, use the effect of the Tier Elements Kashtira as we're going to banish the Papaya, which will get us back our Big Bang, trigger the Arise Heart to equip the Papayas. We'll also get the Mills in this scenario. If we got the Scareclaw one, then he wouldn't be in that scenario, but you see we were able to banish cards from the top of our opponent's deck. It depends on the matchup if you want to do that or not as we get an equip, but we're going to go into the Arsenal Falcon this time around so that we can detach the Fenrir and get ourselves the Wind Statue, giving us a special summon lock potentially, along with the Arise Heart, and the Shang Tsung will get you to a Unicorn on your next turn if you want to snipe a card from your opponent's extra deck. You'll also be able to set the Big Bang, as you'll see momentarily, as we're going to get the equip with the Arise Heart. Now for the penultimate combo, I want to show off Fenrir and Birth because this kind of tackles what you can do with cards that we already had. So I'll start this by summoning the Fenrir, and then we can use its effect, which will grab us the Unicorn, and then from here we can activate the Birth, which will allow us to normal summon the Unicorn, and then we can use the Unicorn's effect to net us the Papayas. And from here we're going to activate the Papaya, and we can activate the Rise Heart now. We can then go into the Shang Tsung as we're going to use the Rise Heart, banishing the Big Bang. This will essentially get us another level 7 as seen previously, as we're going to get the Big Bang as Chainlink 2, and then we'll special summon out the Fenrir, lock a zone, go into the Rise Heart, and from here we end on Shang Tsung with the Fenrir along with the Arise Heart and the Birth still on our board. For the final combo, and this will also be a tier Kashtira combo, I want to keep in mind that I am testing Big Bang in this list because it can help make your combos more card economic friendly, but it also allows you to do the zone locking stuff, which I think is kind of cool to be able to do in this version of the deck. So we're going to start here by special summoning out the Fenrir. We can then use its effect, grabbing ourselves the Rise Heart, and you're not going to use the Rise Heart here as you don't want to lock yourself into Exceed Summoning. We're going to use the Sharon, pitching the Kashtira Tier Elements as we're going to mill 3, and again take the mills that you see here with a grain of salt, as just want to show what you can do with the deck as we go into Kikalos, and we can use Kikalos as Chainlink 1 as we get the Tier Elements Kashtira mills there, and we're going to add ourselves a Celiac here as we're going to use the Kikalos as we can special summon out the Tier Elements Kashtira, and I want to keep in mind that we added the Celiac here because since we won't have the extra monster in hand, we won't be able to use Crime. That's also an option that you could do, as we're going to use the effect to mill of the Kalos as Chainlink 1 and the Tier Elements Kashtira Chainlink 2. So this will basically net us a bunch of mills here as the Sharon and the Merly are both going to go off. We can then go into our Roll Kalos. We'll then use the Sharon, the Rhino Heart, and the Havness to go into our Kaleido Heart, which will set up nicely with our Celiac. Then from here we can go into our Shang Tsung as we're going to bring out the Rise Heart. And from here we won't need to worry about being locked into Exceed Summoning as it's all we're going to do, as we're going to banish the Big Bang off the Rise Heart. And then from here we can trigger off the Shang Tsung, and well as trigger off the Big Bang as Chainlink 2, getting ourselves back the Fenrir to our hand to special summon it, lock our opponent's zone as we're going to go into Mind Hacker here, and you can go for Arsenal Falcon as well if that's something that you want to do, though it kind of does conflict with your Celiac and your Kaleido Heart. So we're going to start locking our opponent's zones here, as you can do monsters or spells and traps, as I'm going to show that I'm doing both right now. But essentially, the Shang Tsung will be able to get Fenrir on board in the deck as long as you still have one, and then you'll be able to zone lock the same way that we did our previous zone locking combos. Now, for this bonus replay, is something that I want to show, and there is no proper or technical play that I'm going to be doing here. It's just something that I saw come up, so I thought it would be nice to add in this video, and that's going to be what happens if your opponent crows the target that you have banished in order to special summon out your Scareclaw or your Tearlaman's Kashtira. And what's going to happen here is that even though the Fenrir is banished, you're going to be able to bring out your Scareclaw or Tearlaman's Kashtira. The reason for this is because it reads you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, banish one Kashtira or Tearlaman's card from your hand or graveyard. So as long as you have a valid target when you activate it, it doesn't need to be there to bring it out. For this first list, I'll actually be using second place list Grim YGO's channel in order to give you a deck list with results. Did replace the side deck with options, as you can see here. Outside of that, everything is card by card. What really stood out to me the most about this list is the set rotation package with the 2 Book of Eclipse, which I think is perfectly fine. Zone locking can be such an integral part in winning more consistently versus certain matchups, and having an 8th way to get to it definitely nice, especially when it also adds a way to counter one of your biggest matchup struggles, which is the Kashtira Tier Elements version. I'd also like to read the Scareclaw Kashtira because I completely forgot to do that. But during the main phase quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, banish one Kashtira or Scareclaw from your hand or graveyard. You can only use this effect of Scareclaw once per turn. Card can attack while in face-up defense position, and if it does, apply a defense for damage calculation. Effects of any opponent's monster that battle your Kashtira or Scareclaw monsters are negated until the end of this turn. So it's basically a super heavy samurai monster. Wondering what the Link monsters are about here with the Lingaribos and the Almirage? It's because the player who piloted this deck had the Iblis. As you saw, you don't really normal summon with this deck. You can just throw in your Iblis, go into one of these, and that's another thing that's kind of nice about the Wind statue, because if you draw it, you can normal summon it. It makes the ability of this a little bit better. Outside of that, I do think that this is as standard as it gets. You'll see that he also played the Ash Blossoms. And because it's a tuner, I wanted to throw out that you can go into stuff like Chengying and Baron. The thing that you can do is play number 28, as it's a way to turbo your opponent to get into Zeus. You do have to control no other monsters in order to do that. I think that's all I really have to say about this version of the deck, outside of like maybe the fact that you can play a plethora of different options in regards to the going second cards. You can change it up for more board breakers, would like. It depends on the preference and what you go against most of the time, so that's important to note. To talk about the Kashtira tier list, Big Bang is not in many of the versions I've seen of this. Again, it's just something I wanted to try, specifically because I haven't seen it a lot, and just the idea of being able to make more card economic friendly combos for a card that's still not too terrible to draw and get into your Kashtira exceeds pretty easily. Take it just as an idea rather than something to scramble to put in. Outside of that, you'll see that I tried to keep the ratios of everything as standard as possible, and there is space for more cards than 40. You can play stuff like 3 Fenrir, 3 Unicorn, Tier Elements Kashtira with maybe more copies of the Field Spell, Pyos, Scream, and other stuff. Also dependent on you. We're also getting a new Tier Elements Field Spell. Guess I can cover in this video. It reads, fusion monsters and Tier Element monsters you control gain 500 attack. If an Aqua Tier Elements monster is sent to your graveyard by a card effect except during the damage step, you can send one level 4 or lower Aqua monster from your deck to the graveyard. But if it is not a tier elements monster, you cannot activate cards or effects of cards with that name for the rest of this turn. You can only use this effect of the field spell once per turn. More so of an extender than a starter. Does require a little bit of setup. You do have to send an Aqua tier elements monster to your graveyard by card effect, regardless of how easy that is. My assumption is that this is just a card for just a nuke if we ever get a nuke for this archetype. Able to go over 40 also lets you play stuff like the Bestials, can also allow you to play Drudge or Beatrice if you want to get into your Zombie World package. Something else worth noting. Also see that I have Chaos Hunter here because it's a way to technically combat Shifter even if it does play into Thrust. Pitching the Ishizu cards are kind of nice. Also a level 7 if you want to go into a rank 7, so that is important to note. I think that's all I really have to cover for both the decks. With all of that out of the way, I'll start going over the card by card for both decks. For the pure build, we have the 3 Rise Heart, the 3 Fenrir, the 3 Unicorn, the 1 Scareclaw, the 3 Field Spell, the 3 Papayas, the 3 Birth, the 1 Terraforming, the 1 Set Rotation, the 1 Necro Valley, 2 Book of Eclipse, 3 Prosperity, 3 Dimension Shifter, the 3 Lava Golem, 3 Ash Blossoms, 3 Imperms, 1 Big Bang. In the extra deck we have the 2 Zeus, the 2 Big Eyes, 2 Arise Heart, the 2 Shang Tsungs, the 1 Diablosis, 1 Dark Arm, the 1 Red Eyes, the 2 Lings, the 1 Almirage, and the 1 Dagger to round out this deck profile. For the second one here we have the 2 Rhino Hearts, the 1 Rise Heart, the 2 Tier Elements, Kashtira, the 2 Unicorns, the 2 Fenrirs, the smaller count because we are playing a lot of the tier Ishizu stuff. We want it more as a sub-engine like you would the Bestial stuff. Then we have the Instant Fusion, the Terraforming, the 3 Havness, the 3 Merli, the 3 Sharon, the 3 Keldo, the 3 Mudora, the 3 Kelbeck, the 1 Agido, the 1 Big Bang, the 1 Crime, the 1 Soliak, the 1 Scream, the 1 Paraisos, the 1 Papayas, the 1 Birth, and the 3 Tier Field Spell to round out the main deck. Onto the extra deck we have Dark, Sprint, Zeus, Arise Heart, Shang Tsung, Diablosis, Big Eye, Dweller, Kaleido Heart, Rule Kalos, 2 copies of Kick Kalos, Plant, Dragostapelia, Garura, and Mud Dragon. About this deck profile. Before I finish here, I would also like to talk about Winter Cherries because this is another card that could see Arise in play. Get it, Arise, but because the main extra deck cards of the format seem to be Arise Heart, Shang Tsung, Diablosis, and Kikalos. With stuff like Sprint, just mentioned 5 targets, it could also technically make Reaper low impact was the thought I wanted to get out of the way. Anyways, that's all I have for today's video, and if you made it this far, I thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them down below. It's Bones, signing out.